Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behaviour of a Cavoodle puppy. So if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to episode 37 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host. Today we're going through some mistakes that families make when they first bring their puppy home that actually makes raising a puppy so much more difficult for them than it actually needs to be. I have 10 different mistakes here. I'm thinking this episode might be a little bit long, so we might have to split it into two, but let's just see how we go. And let's just jump into the very first mistake. The very first mistake, and this one here is honestly just such a big one, and it's so innocent. Families do not have any sort of ill intentions with this mistake, but it really just actually makes such a big difference to your puppy's overall demeanor and how they behave and they act in your household. And that first mistake is answering your puppy when they cry. So what tends to happen is you bring your puppy home and it's an emotional day for everyone. Your puppy has just left their mum. They've left their siblings, they've left the breeder's house, which they are the most familiar with, and they've been brought into a brand new family that they have no idea about. It's a new house, new smells, new people, and they're very nervous and they're very unsure of themselves usually. And this is so very normal. And what happens is when a puppy is unsure of themselves, when a puppy is in a new environment, they are going to cry. And how you respond to that very first cry really does set you up for either success or a very difficult few weeks ahead of you. Now, puppies cry for a variety of different reasons, and that's the first thing I want to preface with. Your puppy is going to cry for so many different reasons, and it's really important as a family that you learn how to differentiate which cry your puppy is doing. Is it a cry because they're hungry? Is it a cry because they're bored? Is it a cry because they want attention? Is it a cry because they're hurt? Is it a cry out of frustration? Understanding why your puppy is crying will give you the tools necessary to know how to respond to it. And so when your puppy does that first cry, as soon as you bring your puppy home, we need to know whether it's for attention, because if the cry is for attention, if it's because they're bored and you go and answer that cry and you go over to them, immediately what your puppy does is they realize that crying does in fact get your attention. And so they're going to cry again and again and again. And that cry is going to go on for longer and longer and longer. And suddenly you have a puppy who has learned that to communicate to you, they have to cry. And this is not how we want our puppies to communicate with us. Now, puppies cry because this is how they communicated with their mum. It's how they communicated with their siblings. So there's going to be an adjustment period when you bring them home for them to learn that crying doesn't get your attention, and to ask for your attention, they have to do it in other ways. For me personally, through my Cavoodle puppy coaching, what I teach families to do is to teach your puppy how to mand. And what manding is a natural instinct that when your puppy wants your attention, they come and sit at your feet. And this is an alternative behavior they can use rather than crying. But this is trained and this is taught. And we have to make sure we have this plan in place before we bring our puppy home, so that when they first cry for attention and they cry for us, we don't go to them. And instead, we start teaching them from day one to mand and sit at our feet when they want our attention rather than crying. I hope that makes sense. I feel like it was a bit of it felt like a tongue twister as I was explaining it, but hopefully it made sense. Yeah, so puppies do cry a lot. It's very normal and there's going to be an adjustment period. But as a family, we need to make sure we understand the reason for the cry and how to respond to it. And if we don't understand this, and if we do answer that first cry, when our puppy cries for our attention, your puppy will cry all night long. I can guarantee that. And they will cry every time you leave the room. So we really need to get on top of that from the beginning. And we need to start off on the right foot. And that's all with proper planning and proper preparation and actually understanding the training method that you're going to be using for your puppy. So if you are getting a Cavoodle puppy and you really do want to set your puppy up for success and you want to start off on the right foot and you want to know how to respond to your puppy when they do all these different kind of behaviors that every puppy will show, such as crying, what I really encourage you to do is to do some proper preparation for your puppy and learning. When you bring your puppy home, this is not the time for learning. This is the time for doing. And so if you haven't already learnt what to do, you're going to feel very overwhelmed and very frustrated. And you're actually going to have no idea how to communicate with your puppy. And this makes your relationship with them quite difficult. And those first weeks with your puppy will be so much more tiring and exhausting than they actually need to be. So when you have your puppy, that's the time for doing. That's the time for training. That's the time for shaping behavior. The period before you get your puppy is the time for preparation and learning. And my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program, it heavily focuses on this. I really encourage families to join it as far in advance before getting their puppy as possible, because what I'll do in this program is I teach you how to respond to your puppy, how to communicate with your puppy, what training we're going to do, how we shape their behavior to be very calm and anxiety-free. And all of this learning is achieved most easily before you bring your puppy home. So make sure you do your planning before you bring your puppy home. If you want to follow a program specific to Cavoodles, and if you would like me to be your Cavoodle puppy coach, you can click the link in the show notes of this video and you can join the program, and I would love to see you there. But just remember, don't answer that first cry with your puppy. Okay, moving on to the second mistake that families make. The second mistake is letting the puppy sleep in your room, maybe even in your bed on the first night. Now, let me just say, I understand why this is something so many families choose to do. Like I mentioned before, that very first day you bring your puppy home, it's quite sad for them. They are in a new environment. They can be quite nervous. And as a family, your heart just breaks over this and you feel so upset for them, and you just want to give them as much love and comfort as possible. And so a lot of families just figure, on night one, I'll let the puppy sleep with me. I'll make sure they're next to me just so they feel loved and comforted and they're not scared. And then on day 2 and night 2, that's when we'll start the proper training. This is really a really big mistake. We don't want to do this, because what that is going to do, and I guess what I'm going to say is when it comes to puppy training and shaping their behavior, you always have to put yourself in the puppy's shoes and look at it from their perspective. And so if your puppy is feeling nervous, unsure of themselves, maybe a bit scared, and then you pop them into bed beside you, they are going to be comforted by your presence, and they're going to start to learn that you mean safety. You are their reassurance. You are their security. And the next day, they're going to have all this extra anxiety whenever you leave the room, because they haven't learned that they have to rely on themselves for that sense of comfort and security. So with that said, it's really important that we don't let them sleep in our bed on night 1, that we don't let them sleep in our room if we can avoid it on night 1. And instead, we spend that first day with our puppy intentionally doing a lot of confidence exercises to increase their confidence, showing our puppy that the crate is the safe place to be, and that it's their little bedroom, and that it's a place they should love to be in, and it's a place they can go into to feel secure. And then they can sleep in that crate from that first night and not form that attachment issue with us where they believe we are their sense of comfort and security, which creates that separation anxiety. Now, that first day that you have your puppy, like I said before, this is the time for doing. And the second you walk your puppy through your front door, the training starts, the shaping of the behavior starts. And we don't want to spend that first day with them just cuddling them all day. Instead, we want to spend that first day with them prepping them for their first night alone. And that means a lot of exercises to familiarize them with the crate, to make sure they feel very comfortable practicing time alone. And then when they go to bed that first night, your puppy is actually more than capable to sleep through the night on night 1. Again, my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program is going to step you through this on that first day, what to do with your puppy hour by hour to prep them for night one. With my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program, the way that it's formatted is 4 weeks of daily schedules for the first month with your puppy. So each day I take you through the exercises, the training, the socializing, the desensitizing you need to do with your puppy, to prep them for being left alone, for sleeping in their crate, for not having anxiety, for being able to go out in public and be calm and relaxed and not barking or pulling on the lead. And it steps you through it day by day by day so that all of the thinking is taken out of it. And I'm just telling you what to do and showing you through lots and lots of videos and daily schedules. So it's a really great program, guys. I made this because I have been breeding cavoodles for years and years. I've been coaching families for years and years. And I know how overwhelming those first few weeks are. And so this program is designed to take that overwhelm out and to give you very clear training advice specific to cavoodles to actually get a cavoodle who complements your lifestyle and doesn't complicate it. So I would love to see you in the program if you're getting a puppy. So just click that link down below in the show notes. The third mistake that I see families making, and this one here happens before they even get their puppy. And it's the families who make the spur of the moment decision to get a puppy. They're scrolling on their phone. They see an ad for a litter of cavoodles available right now. And they go, oh my gosh, they're so cute. They look like little teddy bears. I've been wanting a puppy for a while now. Let's just, bite the bullet and just get the puppy and put a deposit down. And then they pay the deposit, and then the next day they go and pick up their puppy, and there has been zero preparation for their puppy. Now, as I've been speaking through this episode, you're probably starting to realize that the prep work you do for your puppy is so essential. It's the most important part about getting a puppy, because you need to be making sure that when you walk your puppy through your front door for the first time, that you actually are communicating to them, and interacting with them in a way that is shaping them towards the puppy you actually want, and not unintentionally creating all these behavioral issues. So getting a puppy should never, ever, 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 ever be a spur of the moment decision. It is a really big commitment. Cavoodles live hopefully for about 15 years. My oldest cavoodle is 17, so they live a really long time. And there are plenty of cavoodles out there who have been suffering from separation anxiety, or just reactive anxiety, or social anxiety for years and years and years. And this is something that can become such a deep-rooted issue and really restrict a family's lifestyle. And so I don't want to see this for any families, and I don't want to see any puppy suffering anxiety. It's not something that has to happen. Cavoodles and anxiety are not a package deal, but the families who make a spur-in-the-moment decision to get a puppy the very next day, those are the families who are definitely setting their puppy up to have anxiety, because you simply would have no idea how to behave and how to interact with your puppy on that first day. I myself would never get a puppy in a spur of the moment, and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach, and I know exactly what to do, but I would still spend time preparing my household, my family members, my friends for the arrival of the puppy, to make sure it goes smoothly and to make sure the puppy has the environment around them that is going to facilitate the right kind of behavior and the right kind of overall attitude from the puppy. It's really, really important. That preparation is just the most essential part about getting a puppy. So never make a spur in the moment decision. Try and prepare for your puppy across at least a month. And if you do this, when you bring your puppy home, it'll be so much more easy. They will transition into your family so much more seamlessly, and it won't be stressful, it won't be frustrating, and it won't be hard. It can actually be very straightforward and very achievable and really quite easy. So make sure the preparation is your number one goal, and try and avoid any sort of spur of the moment decisions to get a puppy. Okay, this is going to move on to number 4. So the fourth mistake families make is spending every moment of the day with their puppy. Now, this is a very innocent mistake. It's with the best intentions. What families will do is they will organize to get a puppy, and then they'll organize to take maybe 1 or 2 or 3 weeks off work just so they can help their puppy transition into their home and start that training process with their puppy. So the intentions are there. The best intentions are there. But what families then do is they make the mistake of spending every single minute of every single day with their puppy. And then suddenly, bam, it's time to go back to work, and they leave for work, and the puppy suddenly is so anxious because they've just spent 3 weeks with their new human and they haven't learnt how to be confident when by themselves. So it's really important that when you are getting a puppy, on the very first day you get them, they spend time alone. This is essential. They need to start building this confidence up. They need to start practicing these behaviors so that then you can go to work, or you can go to a party, or you can go to a friend's house, or you can go to the shops, and your puppy won't be sitting at home full of anxiety and completely stressing. When a puppy is full of anxiety, they get a rush of adrenaline, and then they'll start doing a lot of behaviors you don't want them to do. It's an involuntary response. They'll start barking, they'll start crying, they'll start digging, they'll start chewing. They'll start having toileting accidents everywhere. And that's their body's natural way to work through all of that adrenaline and to try and calm themselves down. So we need to try and reduce that. We need to make sure our puppy isn't full of anxiety. And the way that we do this is by practicing it from the day you bring your puppy home. So it's very important, the day you bring your puppy home, to take some time away from them, prepare them for this moment. Don't just leave and leave them in a room they've never been in before. They'll obviously get stressed. There is a sequence of events you need to take to prep your puppy for that moment. And that's why it's really important that all of the preparation work happens so that on the first day with your puppy, you know how to do this in a very calm, stress-free way for your puppy. And you need to be able to step your puppy through this so that they actually can form a very positive association with being left alone and not a negative association. Again, my Cavoodle Puppy Planner will step you through this, and it will show you how to do it with your little puppy with a lot of success. Okay, this is going to lead me into the fifth way the fifth mistake families make with their puppies. And then again, I think I'm going to leave the next 5 for next week because I think this episode would be too long otherwise. So let's go through the fifth mistake families make with their puppy. Okay, the fifth mistake they make is letting the puppy dictate the style of play. Now, this is something that I'm sure is not one of the things that comes to mind when you think about what causes a naughty puppy. But it is so true. The style of play with your puppy completely dictates your relationship with them. It'll completely dictate whether your puppy is calm and relaxed and polite and respectful of your space, or if the puppy invades your space, jumps all over you, bites your arm, pulls your hair, jumps on your visitors, and has no understanding of what polite behavior looks like. The style of play that you have with your puppy, you need to be shaping this. You need to be teaching your puppy how to play with you because your puppy has spent 8 weeks playing with other dogs, playing with their siblings, but they probably haven't been playing all that much with humans. So this is a learning experience, and you need to be making sure that with this learning experience, you are shaping this behavior and you're showing your puppy how to play with you and respect your boundaries and be polite. And you can also use it as a time to actually practice training, practice their sits, practice their weight, practice their patience, teach them how to follow direction. It's a really great way to bond with your puppy and strengthen your connection, but it has to be well thought out. It has to be structured, and it can't just be something that you do without any thought and any preparation. You have to learn how to play with a puppy, especially if you've never had a puppy before. It's not something where you can just go onto the ground and roll around with a puppy. That is the worst thing you can do with a puppy. It has to be structured. It has to be very intentional. And if you do this, then you will start to teach your puppy how to interact with you. They'll be calm. They will be respectful. They'll be polite, and you'll have a beautiful relationship. Not a relationship where your puppy jumps all over you and pulls your hair. That is hard work, and that is not what anyone is wanting with their puppy. So don't let your puppy dictate the play. You have to be the one showing your puppy how to play, showing them how to interact with you. And if you do this, it will open up, again, a very beautiful channel of communication between you and your Cavoodle. Okay, so those were the first 5 mistakes families make when they first bring a puppy home. I will go through the next 5 next week. I hope this episode was a bit eye-opening for families. I have a very I am a bit scared that I spoke a bit fast. I have a feeling I did. And if I did, I really want to apologize. When I'm talking and I get passionate about something, I speak fast, and I try and tell myself to slow down, but sometimes I don't slow down enough. So if I spoke too fast, I apologize. Someone please send me a DM and tell me I spoke too fast. And next week I will try and speak a lot slower. But hopefully you still learned a lot from this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next week for the next 5 mistakes you can make with your new Cavoodle puppy. Okay, this has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamayas. I'll see you later. Bye.